Kevin.
He trying to get us put in jail. Yeah. He trying to lock us up.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 10 a.m., March 24th, 2026. Let's call the meeting to order for Polk County Commissioners Court at the Polk County Regional Health Building, Suite A. At this time, if you would, please silence any of your devices and cell phones, and we will ask Robert Griffin of First Baptist Church, Providence, to lead us in prayer.
Let's pray. Thank you, God, for your presence today, Lord, as I will always thank you for the opportunity to know you and to serve you, Lord, and to serve in this capacity in this community is an honor. And I thank you for each person here and what they do. It's vital. Lord, I pray that you would bring peace today, that there would be calm, Lord, and clarity, and God, that you would be praised and glorified in the decisions that are made here, and that we would serve you and serve the people here in a way that would draw people to you. Lord, we thank you. In Jesus' name,
Amen.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, public comments at this time. We have Mr. Lambeth. I noticed you listed yourself as Billy Goose Lambeth.
Well, that's what Joanna wanted. She said, why don't you put goose on there, so I did. But anyway, the last time I was here, there was two groups of geese, 2 in one, 3 in the other. They've got together and 7 more joined them. There's 12 now. I think they're the 12 smartest geese in the county, because they're smarter than the sheriff's department, or the animal control anyway. So that's the report.
Thank you, sir.
12.
I appreciate it. Okay, informational reports. Commissioner, you want to get us started? Precinct 2?
We normally do we always do a spring and fall cleanup. This Saturday, on Saturday, April the 11th, we'll have our other our fall cleanup. It's going to be spring cleanup, 7:30 to 12 o'clock. It's going to be located back behind the Onalaska Sub Courthouse there.
Okay, thank you, sir. You also, is anyone here from the Central Appraisal District? I don't think so. The Polk Central Appraisal District, they have put out their 2027 proposed budget and notice of hearing on March 26th at 5 p.m. Their budget, which was published in the Polk County Enterprise on Thursday, May 12th, is scheduled to hold a public hearing on Thursday, March 26th at 5. A copy of the proposed budget is included in everyone's packet. They're proposing a budget increase of $61,909, which is a 2.97% increase over last year, for a total budget of $2,149,362. The payment is budgeted to increase for us by $42,857, which is a 1.06 increase for Polk County, making our total projected cost with the CAD $857,591.95. I know that's sticker shock for some of us, but if you will recall, last year when the legislators did the property tax reduction for schools, then that shifted the responsibility for those CAD payments to the county. So keep that in mind. So that's part of why those numbers are so high. And then we have an informational report from the Lower Trinity Groundwater Conservation District.
Good morning.
Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Commissioners. Morning, y'all. Thanks for having me. I brought props, and I brought props for a couple of reasons. One, I find most people don't care to talk about groundwater unless it's a drought or the toilet ain't flushing. Number two, I tend to talk too much. So if you're feeling anxiety or stress while I talk, squeeze these stress balls. And if I don't get the hint, then you're allowed to throw them at me, okay? And that'll tell me it's time to move on, all right? But I do have a report. I haven't been here in a couple of years, so I thought I'd give you guys an update reminder where we came from, where we're at today, and where we're headed in the near future, because in case you guys aren't aware, water is becoming a hot topic for Texas, okay? So there's a blue folder on your desk I made out for y'all. There's an informational report I typed. I'm not going to go off it really. I'm pretty much going to go off these slides that I made y'all because I like graphics, okay? So just to remind everybody what we are, we're the Lower Trinity Groundwater Conservation District. Back in 2005, the state legislature passed a bill allowing Polk County and San Jacinto County to put before the voters to see if we wanted to have a conservation district. What the conservation district's rules and regulations would do would be limit the amount of groundwater that can be taken out of the ground. Aquifers. Groundwater, everybody thinks that means the water on top of the ground. It's not. It's actually the aquifers. We, on top of an aquifer called the Gulf Coast Aquifer, it runs all the way from Florida, all the way over to here, to the other side of Trinity County, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. We're very lucky the Gulf Coast Aquifer starts right north of Corrigan and runs down to the Gulf of Mexico. That's good for us because it's very shallow to us. It gets very recharged very quickly when we have good routes. It means we can have very shallow wells. The average residential water well for our county and San Jacinto County is about 150 feet to get good drinking water. A commercial well averages in our county and our district about 300 feet. If you go down to Montgomery County or if you go down to Houston County, they're drilling 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 feet to get the same water. So we're very lucky up here. We're what we always call, in this county, I call us water rich, okay? After the bill was passed in 2005 and it was brought to the voters in 2006, the voters passed it with about a 68% margin. So we formed the Groundwater District. Originally, Liberty County was going to be a part of it, but they decided not to join the Groundwater District. They had a misconception that meant we were going to put meters on their private water wells and maybe potentially charge them for their own personal water. Even though the legislation clearly says in the very first paragraph, you can never do that in the state of Texas, okay? Texas is the last state in the United States to have what is called the rule of capture. That means if you own a piece of land in the state of Texas, no matter how big that land is, you can pump as much water as you want out from under that land. You can use it for whatever you want to use it. Even if it dries up your neighbor's well, it doesn't matter. You're allowed to draw the water out of it. All the Groundwater District does is we permit it, we license it, and we make sure you're not taking it. If it was to become a taking and you were hurting your neighbors, then we would step in and put limits on it, okay? But we are the last state to do that, and I'll get to some more information in a few minutes. I think that's going to end fairly certain pretty soon as well. For where we are today, I took a measurement of where we were just 10 years ago, because day to day it doesn't matter. 10 years ago, we were pumping in the district between Polk County and San Jacinto County about 3.3 million gallons of water a year. That is up to this year, at the end of 2025, we were pumping 4.5 million gallons of water per year. To put that in a context for you, because Lord knows I barely know what a gallon of milk is, if you took the spillway from Lake Livingston Dam on an average week, they spill in a week what we use in 1 year out of Polk County and San Jacinto County. That's how much goes down the river in a week, okay? Just to give you a perspective. We don't use that much water because we're low population, obviously. We do not have a ton of industry here that uses a lot of water. We had 10 years ago, we had about 440 commercial wells. A commercial well would be a public water supply that's like in a subdivision that sells water to all the homes. It would be like Corrigan OSB. It would be a gas station that has bathrooms. It would be restaurants. Those are all commercial wells. Anything that pumps water out that's free, and then they sell that natural resource they have to pay a fee on it to the groundwater district. And that's how we get our money. We charge them 4 cents for every 1,000 gallons that they pump. That means roughly, most public water supplies around here pay us maybe $1,000 a year, and that's how we're funded. We don't use taxpayer money. It only comes from the companies that are selling the water under it. If you have your own personal well at home, that's free. You call us, you hire a licensed driller. He comes out and drills your well. He gets a permit number from us. We put you in the database. There's no fees. There's no cost. We just track it. In the last 10 years, we went from roughly 5,000 private residential wells to where we've got 7,400 residential wells today. So this is the counties that we take care of. This is the groundwater district. Sorry, I don't have one for everybody, everyone. So from a groundwater perspective, there's a procedure we go through. Every 5 years, the state requires us to estimate how much water our counties are going to need for the next 50 years. And we're in the 4th cycle, and we are planning out to the year 2080 right now. And they go off based at estimated population growth, industry growth, economic growth, and we estimate how much water is coming in. That's good for us because we stay low population. It's bad for us because everyone else is not. If you guys will pull this chart out of your paper, let me add some context for you. This bar graph here on the left, you will see that in 2015, San Jacinto and Polk County, we had roughly 72,000 people living and working here. The red next to it is Montgomery County, which is south of us. They had 450,000 people. Houston had 4.1 million people, and the entire population of Texas was 27 million. If you look in the middle today, we have grown to 80,000 people in this county. Montgomery County, south of us, that uses the water from us, it runs from us downhill to Montgomery County, they have went up by 67%. They have 750,000 people in Montgomery County today. The cycle that I'm telling you we're planning for right now, Montgomery County is forecasting 1.4 million people by the year 2080. That's another 87% growth. Houston is showing that they're going to go up to 6.1 million people. The state of Texas is forecasting that by 2080, Texas is going to have 45 million people in it. What does that say? Let's talk about data farms. Let's talk about Corpus Christi not having water. Let's talk about Houston not having water. Montgomery County is now doubling the amount of water that they're asking for under this current DFC planning committee. We are not going to have anything that says we need to use more water. We're going to be fine. The water that I usually get back from the state, once we submit our DFCs, which we do, as I was mentioning earlier, it goes into the Texas Water Board, into their Willy Wonka magic box. They come back to us and they say, Polk County, you get this many acre feet of water per year you can use. San Jacinto County, you get this much water. Every other county on this pretty map, this is our planning partners. Okay, you can see it involves Montgomery County, Houston County, etc. It tells them how much water they can have. Since I've been on this job, this is my 14th year, we've never exceeded 30% of that limit that the state of Texas has put on us. And it's not just me, it's all of East Texas. Okay? But Montgomery County needs more water. Obviously, they're growing. There's no way around it. Polk County and San Jacinto County does not need more water. There's one more chart I wanted to bring to your attention. Everyone keeps talking about data centers. If I got $1 for every time during the week I get a call about, I heard there's a data center coming to Polk County, I would have already retired. I went to a meeting last week on data centers. There are currently, as of today, 411 existing data centers under construction and being operated in the state of Texas. None in Polk County or San Jacinto County, unless you guys know something I don't. I have found zero evidence it's coming here. Previously, I was a computer engineer. I designed computers before I retired and went to this job. I built computers for data centers. I'm very knowledgeable of data centers. There's 4 things that a data center needs. It needs space, it needs a lot of power, it needs a lot of water, and it needs to be on the internet backbone. Well, we have 2 of those things in this county. We have the space and we have the water, but we do not have the power availability and we do not have the internet backbone. Broadband is not internet. They need to be on the exact trunk of the tree, not the branch of the tree like what we have here. So could it be here? Yes. But is it more reasonable if you look at this map where they're building the centers? Look at Dallas, has 80. Look at up and down the corridor, Houston, San Antonio, Abilene's data center, the one our ex-governor is sponsoring is 3 times the size of New York City. But just one of those data centers in Dallas, there's one Google that's been operating for 3 years. They use 18 million gallons of water a year. That's equivalent to what we use in a week. They use there in a day. So if we were to get data centers, yes, this county could make some money off of the taxes off of it. You could make some money off the water of it. But what's more reasonable? I believe that the state legislature is heading towards, they're going to reverse where we were 20 and 30 years ago, where they wanted the local counties to control the water, and they need to redistribute the water around the state. They passed the Texas Water Bill in the last session. That's going to allow them to put an infrastructure in. You guys have heard there's private equity firms such as the Kyle Bass out of Fort Worth and Dallas, out of Houston County, and the county above Anderson. He bought property over there. He put in permits for 15 billion gallons of water a year to be shipped to Fort Worth. Got the pipelines going. That's going through the court system right now. The permits were unapproved, but he's using, just for him in those counties, because we're rule of capture, he could ship 3 times more water than we use in a year, every year up to Fort Worth, right? He also purchased property in Hardin County to ship it south to Houston. That was his plan. I don't know if that's still going to happen. But my point is, since 1970, there was 8 other states in the United States that had the rule of capture, saying you could pump as much water as you wanted. They've all done away with it. All the way up to the Supreme Court, they withheld it. Texas is the last rule of capture state. And based on population growth that I'm showing here, based on where the central Texas is growing, where West Texas is growing, where the data centers are being put in, the power plants are being put in, it's easier for them to ship our water there. So I'm not trying to be Chicken Little and saying we should be scared and worried about it, but you know, we had political capital years ago when we were big ranching here, and we had a lot of agricultural, but now we don't. We don't have projections of population growth like other counties do. So I need y'all to be aware that in the next couple of legislative sessions, this is going to become an issue. I may need your help speaking up, or we're going to, you know, potentially be at a risk of losing all the water that we need for our own community. It'll get shipped elsewhere, okay? Conroe's out of water. Conroe could use all the water out of Lake Conroe today, and it's not enough for them. They need more. Corpus Christi, they're down to 11% on their reservoirs. They need water. They need a desalinization plant. They need $1 billion. They started today, they wouldn't have water for 3 more years. So they're talking about evacuation part of the city, stop building, that kind of thing. Houston, they're out of water. They're talking about building more water from Louisiana and shipping it in. So we're water rich, but also it also makes us a target for the future. And it's not just us, it's all of East Texas. It's not just us. So I didn't see anybody squeeze their ball. No one's thrown one at me yet.
I'll throw it at you.
Does that mean I should keep talking or I should shut up at this point and take questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
Has our level on our aquifer, what's
Yes, sir.
changed?
So every year, once or twice a year, I physically go around. We've been measuring wells for 50 years here manually.
Yes, sir.
I actually take a 300-meter metal tape. I run it down a hole to the aquifer. Well, first I put chalk on it. Then I pull it back up 300 feet and I see where the water level was. And I measure from the ground to where the water started. And that's my measurement for where the aquifer level is. And it's up and down, but roughly it's within 2% plus or minus over the year. There's one more chart I'll show you real quick, Mr. Purvis. I didn't go over this. You see this chart right here?
Yes, sir.
It's a beautiful chart. I love it from a scientific standpoint. But focus on the bottom part of it for me. This is the last 26 years of drought in Texas. This is 2020. This is 2026. And look, every dark up spike on this is a drought in Texas. And you can see over here in 2020, it would be drought, no drought, drought, no drought, drought, no drought. Skip all the way to 26 the last 6 years. Texas is in a continuous drought. We have not stopped being in the red and yellow. And so we're an advantage because we're at the outcrop of the aquifer here in Polk County and San Jacinto County. We get a fast recharge, but overall the state is going down. If you go to the Panhandle, they're down 50 feet on the Oga aquifer, right? And it hasn't recharged. Theirs takes 10,000 years to recharge. Our aquifer takes 10 feet a year to the water will get down into the aquifer, is the average. So we're in great shape here, absolute great shape. There is no risk to us whatsoever, as long as anyone don't come in and try to take our water. And I'm okay if they take our water, if they pay us for it, because we bought this land and it's our water under our land. If they want to come and buy our water from us and we can take money to make this county a better county, pay for health and human services and roads and bridges, then we should do it. There's another item that I'll bring to your attention. There's a thing called subsidence. You are familiar with what subsidence is? It's where when you pump water out of an aquifer, if you don't recharge it quick enough, think of the aquifer as a sponge, right? It's not a lake, it's a sponge. It fills, all the sands and the gravels filled with water. The water comes out of it, it rains, it fills back up. If over time you draw water out of that and you do not fill it up, that clay and those sands will compress into a brick and it will never fill back up with water and it will become a subsidence district. Houston is a subsidence district. The ground physically drops. There's places in Houston up to 15 feet that places in Houston has dropped. The Woodlands, all these places that flood, they have subsidence. It drops, and when it rains, it floods. It's not just because of the concrete in the building. Here in the city of Livingston, from city of Livingston all along the corridor to Onalaska, we have subsidence. Almost a foot, up to a foot of subsidence is what the Texas Water Development Board pointed out. It's one of the reasons that the city of Livingston moved to full surface water 10 years ago. They turned off their groundwater pumps. It's one of the reasons when you guys started renovating the courthouse and you found out that it was flooding underneath, the reason is it's because literally right here in downtown we have up to a foot, the ground has dropped a foot that didn't exist 20 years ago. And so it's leveled off in the city of Livingston, but we're still measuring for subsidence. I've got a grant in with the Texas Water Board. There's a map in here, you can look at it in a little bit, but I'm about to add 9 subsidence monitoring stations throughout Polk County and San Jacinto County. They're GPS, they take 1,000 readings a second that measures lateral movement of the land and compression. So we can see as the counties around us grow, like Montgomery County, that we will see if our land is starting to sink or move. And I'm also adding additional monitoring so I don't have to do the manual checking a couple times a year. We will have 8 stations that are doing all the time, real-time monitoring and uploading to the Water Board and to the Army Corps of Engineers as well. So that's what we're doing from a groundwater district perspective. Did that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir.
So
Thank you.
also Gary and I
Yes, ma'am.
have, when we've had legislators approach us and say, oh, but you don't understand, we need to take your water because all these people need water. We have said, well,
Yeah.
you need to get our taxpayers some relief because we don't see any pipelines with oil coming our direction for free, right? So we have a resource, and if that's what it comes to, well, then our taxpayers should feel the relief of selling the water per se, if we have it. They're pumping oil out of the ground.
It's
And
an
getting the
asset.
money.
It's an asset we own, right?
Yes.
And we shouldn't give it away for free. That's all my point is, right?
Yeah, that's our only.
They're, you know, legislatively, they're taking everything they can, and it's getting harder to run business. So if we have an asset that has value in it and everyone else needs it, let's make a deal. That's my opinion. All right?
Sounds good.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, let's see. So the next one is receive an informational report on the tire and large item collection event. You also have that information in your packet, the post-event report. Who's going to do that? Sheree, are you going to do it?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So on March 14th, we had our free tire and large item collection event. We had a very successful event. We received 1,010 tires. We had 83 vehicles pass through the tire collection line. We had 48 vehicles pass through the large item collection line. which we resulted in total tonnage of 6.55 tonnage receipt. It was a very good event. We had operational support from the Sheriff's Department, which we had 2 full-time deputies, and we had 6 inmates help with that, and we had 14 community volunteers. A lot of people were very appreciative of the large items part of it. So, do you have any questions?
Anybody have any
I
questions?
just want to say, I was out there a little bit of part of the time, and it was flawless. My hats off to you.
Well, thank you. It was a lot in between Commissioner Cassidy and Kayla and me going back and forth and setting everything up, and Carrie and the event of it, and just doing everything together. We appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Good team. Thank you.
And we'll have our precinct 1 pickup in about another month, so that's for that. So.
Okay, I just didn't have any information, so no one to go ahead. Oh. Okay, old business, approve the minutes of the previous meetings, February 24th, which was a regular and emergency session. A copy of the minutes has been included for your review, and I need a motion to approve or corrections.
Second.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Dubose, second Commissioner Cassidy. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, select an engineering firm to assist the county in its applications and project implementation of 1 or more contracts if awarded by the Texas General Land Office. The original agenda item was tabled at the November 12th meeting to give the court an opportunity to select the projects prior to selecting an engineer. As engineers generally specialize in different types of project, at our last meeting, the court determined to move forward with the road project, selecting Indian Springs and Holiday Lake Estates in that order as the 2 projects to submit to GLO. Proposals were received from Light Point Engineering, Meta Engineering, Schomburg and Polk Inc., and Goodwin Lassiter Strong. These submittals were distributed by email on Thursday for your review, and a copy of the rating sheets from the scoring committee is included in your packet for your review. So I need a motion on which one you all would like to approve. Jessica, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Absolutely. So, back in November is when we were looking at the local communities program. You know, we weren't sure when the committee scored, we weren't sure if we were doing infrastructure, drainage, roads, right? Remember Commissioner Purvis, the committee, I think the recommendation was SPI, and we hadn't decided on roads yet. So you said, you know, let's decide the project and then we'll go from there. So the Commissioner Court has the decision. You can go any direction. You can go based on our recommendation, or you can go based on experience, however you need to decide.
I'm gonna leave it up to the 2 commissioners that's got them in their projects and their precincts. I'm gonna pick y'all's engineer for you. Whoever y'all decide.
Well, I might go with GLS.
I feel like it. Yeah, I like GLS.
They've always done a tremendous, fabulous job with us and stuff. That's what I'm with.
So that comes as a recommendation to the court. Okay, Commissioner Dubose, Commissioner Cassidy, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, new business, our consent agenda, you have addendums on 7. Addendum number 1 is in the amount of $501,163.51. Addendum number 2 is in the amount of $21,800. And that's it, unless someone has an item they would like to pull.
So moved.
Motion to
Second.
approve, Commissioner Cassidy, second Commissioner Robertson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. New business, the regular agenda. Consider approval of personnel matters as follows. Personnel action form requests submitted by department heads since the last meeting, and review of any authorized emergency hiring. We have no emergency hires at this time. So I need a Motion to
So moved.
approve those requests. Commissioner Purvis, Commissioner Cassidy, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. B, discuss and consider request from Justice of the Peace Precinct 2 to use discretionary funds for one-time bonus. Judge Raspberry requests approval from Commissioners Court to use the remainder of her discretionary funds for a one-time bonus in the amount of $1,224 to Sarah Armstrong for her exceptional work for the JP2's office. Judge Raspberry understands that utilizing these discretionary forms as a bonus means that they will not be carried forward to the next year's budget.
Approved.
Approved,
Second.
Commissioner Dubose, second Commissioner Purvis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. C, discuss and consider any and all necessary action related to the sheriff's request for payment of overtime earned by corrections officers and telecommunications operators. Sheriff Lyons is requesting approval to pay overtime for hours worked due to staffing shortages on a bi-weekly basis, rather than allowing those hours to accumulate as FLSA comp time. The sheriff believes that paying overtime promptly will incentivize the staff. Jail staff overtime can be funded from surplus salary funds within the jail budget line item, and dispatch overtime can be funded from surplus salary funds within the sheriff's budget line item. Approval of this request extends only through the current fiscal year, and beyond that point would require policy change. We've always said that if people work, they deserve to be paid. In this way, instead of accumulating the hours, they would immediately receive payment, because until those positions get filled, it's going to be a continuing problem.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Purvis, Commissioner Cassidy, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item number 16, consider request for revisions and amendments to the budget as follows. A, the FY 2026 budget revisions and amendments as presented by the County Auditor's Office. A copy of the proposed revisions number 2026-14 and amendments 2026-14A is included for your review.
Approved.
Motion to
I'll
approve,
second.
Commissioner Dubose, second Commissioner Robertson. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 17, consider order authorizing the sale of fireworks during the San Jacinto Day period of April 16th, 2026 through midnight, April 21st. For your review, we've included a copy of the proposed order and Texas Association of Counties correspondence regarding the permitting of fireworks during the San Jacinto Day fireworks period. As stated in the letter, previous law required court action to restrict or prohibit sales during certain times of year when drought conditions are present. The new law allows the court discretion to allow fireworks sales during the holiday period, but this must be adopted before March 31st. Mr. Fire Marshal, would you have anything you need to add?
At this time, not being under burn ban, I recommend that we go ahead and allow the fireworks sale, with the exception that if we have to go under burn ban, we do have a little rain forecast for next week, which will help the situation, but I'm 3 weeks out, so I don't know.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. If we go under a burn ban, then they can't sell them,
No,
even
it's
though we
not.
approved it, right?
That is
Okay.
correct. And he's checked also with the Forest Service, and they agree, and if we have to do a burn ban, then we do it.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Commissioner Purvis, Commissioner Cassidy, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 18, consider any and all necessary action regarding the IAH Public Facility Corporation Board of Directors. The current members of the IAH Public Facility Corporation Board are myself, Commissioner Robertson, Terry Mayer, Byron Lyons, and Bobby Christopher. Bobby Christopher has recently retired, which left a vacancy on the board. So, especially for the people that haven't been engaged in this process the whole time, the IAH Public Facility Corporation's primary purpose has been to ensure that sustainable operation of the IAH Secure Adult Facility. And originally, its principal obligation was to the bondholders. So the bondholders guaranteed the security of the investment. The bonds have now been fully paid off. So all the bondholders have been paid off. And so now the board's focus has shifted to its primary responsibility is now the protection of the county's assets. We take in approximately $1 million every year into our general fund in the form of administrative fees. Okay, so at one time, this is a facility that actually created or led to the $1.4 million deficit. Because when those monies got shut off, just boom, well then the monies that had been coming into the county budget disappeared. And so that's when we had to get to work on it. So what the board would like to do is the board's responsibility is the integrity of the facility to make sure that they maintain enough reserves so that that facility remains in good, able, capable of continuing to function and maintain the building, because that is a funding source for the taxpayers. As a facility corporation, that's its first obligation. Its second obligation is to go ahead and start accumulating some of the reserves or some of the money that comes in that is over their necessary budget. And that money can only be used for facilities. It cannot be used for personnel, it can only be used for facilities. So that is a money that will then we will be able to place for upgrading, maintaining, or building new facilities for the county at no expense to the taxpayers as much as possible. There's no county money in that facility at this time. There hasn't been, and there won't be. So while the bondholders were in place, the PFC was required to maintain a relationship with a trustee, which was U.S. Bank. And U.S. Bank was who collected and dispersed the revenues and processed the invoices, but those bonds are now retired. So it's time to restructure that process and transition those responsibilities, and the board agreed to transition those responsibilities to the county treasurer. So we do have to thank Terry for agreeing to take those responsibilities on, and so we would also like to restructure the board and get Terry on the board as well. So the board authorized Herb Briscoe to negotiate the termination of the agreement with U.S. Bank and authorized Terry Williams to open bank accounts for the PFC in Livingston, with our own taxpayers and our own organizations here. So Terry will be overseeing the account transfer. She will be managing the flow of funds under the new structure, and the board requests that the court consider appointing her to fill the vacancy left by Bobby Christopher. So that will be one of the things that we need to decide on. The county was previously scheduled to renew its agreement with ICE. And so part of what Herb Bristow and we were trying to do is we were trying to have, when the ICE contract expired, then our provider, MTC, would have an agreement with ICE. And so we are now on our third, I call it kicking the can further down the road, but we are on our third request from ICE for them to simply have a 6-month extension. So now we will be sliding into 18 months of waiting for ICE to renew their agreement with MTC, which then affects the IAH board. I know that sounds really confusing because it is. So part of it will be waiting for ICE and MTC before we can actually go in and start pulling money or shifting things around. We need to make sure that that agreement is solid between them and that our bank is solid as well. Terry will keep an eye on the money before we can actually capture any more money from IAH. So the PFC will be able to assess the appropriate funding levels. What we did in the past is the first payment had to go to pay off debt, which was your bondholders. From there, it went to management, it filtered down to the county, the protection of the building, and then it filtered down to the county. So right now, we're still receiving some of the payments, which are for the administrative fee, for when the number of inmates in there surpasses what the agreement was. So part of what happened was we originally were able to have an agreement with the IRS in the middle of all these acronyms between MTC and ICE and the IRS. We were able to make an agreement with the IRS, and we went to Dallas. I myself went to Dallas with Herb, and we negotiated an agreement with IRS, and then the IRS came back and said no, that they would not honor that agreement that was made in Dallas. So then I had to go to Washington, D.C. to negotiate again with the IRS, and so we were able to finally come to an agreement with the IRS on what the bondholder's position would be. So now we have ICE, another federal agency, kicking 6-month agreements further down the road, and as soon as that gets done, then MTC will be able, and then we will make the full transition to the PFC board. So then the full Public Facility Corporation will be entirely responsible for the agreements with MTC, for maintaining the building, and capturing any additional funds that will then become available for facilities for Polk County. So the ICE agreement was renegotiated. That was in 2017. It's been a reliable source of income, because part of what we did is we were able to negotiate with ICE and get them to agree to a minimum number of people. If you have a facility like that, and let me tell you, I knew nothing about those kinds of facilities and what the number of staff needed to be compared to the number of people, the number of inmates in there. But I do know from a business perspective that if you are hiring and then letting people go and then hiring them again and letting people go, eventually they're going to say no. They're not going to come back. And so what's happening at that facility is they would have 500 or 600 people in there 1 week, and then a month later they would have 100. Well, they don't need the staff for 400 or 500 to take care of 100, so they were having to let people go back and forth. So what we were able to do is we negotiated with ICE for a minimum, and so they have to pay us for the minimum. Whether they have 600 people in there or they have 100 people in there, they have to pay us 500. So that stabilizes the facility, stabilize the income for Polk County, and stabilize those jobs for Polk County residents. Because Polk County residents would have a job one day, 2 weeks later they wouldn't have a job. So that's where we are right now. We're obviously have stabilized since the deficit. Everything out there is stable, and the transition now is for the money to actually not go to the bondholders anymore, but to come to Polk County for continued taxpayer relief. So we would like at this time to ask the court to please allow Terry Williams to be one of the representatives on that board, assuming the spot that was vacated by Bobby.
I'm good with that recommendation.
Commissioner Dubose, who over here? Commissioner Purvis. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 19, consider amendment for renewal of lease of county office space for Texas Department of State Health Services at 402 East Church, Livingston. Their standard procedure is to request renewals of lease space 12 to 18 months ahead in order to prepare for their biennium budgeting and allow time to locate alternative space and move operations should the lease not be renewed. TDSHS provides important services to families in Polk County that could not otherwise afford this care, And so we would like to ask, and they are asking for the court's consideration in renewing for a 24-month term at the current rate, which is $500 a month. A copy of the lease and the proposed extension amendment was included for your review. We still, if we need to terminate or if they need to terminate, we can do so, either party can do so within 90 days of written notice.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Purvis, Commissioner Cassidy, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 20, discussion of surface lease agreements expiring June 30th, 2026 for Polk County school land in Throckmorton and Baylor counties, and consider any necessary action regarding the lease process. The current surface lease agreements and renewal options for Polk County school lands will expire on June the 30th of this year. So we thought it would be beneficial for the court to start discussing what direction the county would like to take, extending the lease agreements or modifying and preparing new agreements. We have RFPs of lease offers or any other direction that the court may suggest. This will give us time to prepare any necessary documentation and communicate the county's intent to the current leaseholders. Jay Deal with Texas AgriLife is currently our person that goes out there and looks at the leases and reviews and makes sure that they are following all the agreements, and we included the current contracts for your review. Commissioner Purvis has usually been the one that represented us on this, so do you have any concerns?
I have no concerns at this time, but I'd soon just table it for right now, so we have more time to study it.
Well, there's no
Yeah,
decision
no
to be
action on
made.
it
There's
either.
no action, it's just a discussion item.
No, I'd like to check a little more, see what, compare our prices to,
Okay.
you know,
so-
what the prices
going rate
are,
is.
going rate is out there right now.
Okay, so is there anything you want this office to do, or grants and contracts, or Jay?
No, right now, I guess
Okay.
unless, you know, somebody wants to check, but I'm gonna try to check and see
Okay.
what the current prices are.
Will do. Okay, item number 20.
When do we need to?
Well,
By the next
it
court or?
expires June 30th, so
we
it
need to-
depends
in
on.
the Middle of April, when our court
Yeah.
meeting in April, we need to be ready, we need to make some type of.
It depends on what your recommendation is going to be.
If it changes anything, yeah.
If
we
it
need-
changes anything, then obviously we'll need the information sooner so we can go out for RFPs.
Yeah,
The next time we meet, the 14th.
yeah, so we need to make a decision. by
Yeah.
then.
So we'll just get you to bring a recommendation to the court. Okay, item number 21, discuss and take action on change order 1 for the General Land Office Community Development Block Grant Regional Mitigation Bridge Project, which is GLO contract number 24-065-044-E536. This change order included for your review is to reimburse the contractor for changes incurred from the SHICO for utility line relocations associated with the construction of the new concrete bridges on Tom Cummings Road, Hodge Bottom Road, and May Drive.
One thing I'd like to add to that, if I could, I got a call from Chico this morning. Tom Cummings Bridge number 2, we'd previously relocated the lines up to the edge of the current trees. That wasn't enough safety barrier for the contractor when they stand their crane up, so they were out there into last week and Monday of this week looking at that. They sent me an invoice for an additional $11,185.27 to clear the trees and relocate that line farther into their easement. They already had existing easements at these locations, so there was no easement. These funds are primarily to trim the right-of-ways, clear the trees, and relocate the lines.
Yeah, to do that. Okay.
And we have to go through SHICO, it's their lines, they're the only ones who can touch them.
Okay, so the addition is
So the
11.
total charge for the change order would be $29,676.43.
Very well.
If the court allows me, I will, if y'all are good with it, I will redo the change order and send it to the judge for signature, should y'all approve that. We do have funds in the grant to cover this construction cost.
I need a.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Cassidy, Commissioner Dubus, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 22, discuss constable.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Nick. Discuss Constable Precinct 1 request to approve an interlocal agreement with Goodrich Independent School District for school resource officer. Constable Hughes and Goodrich Superintendent Daniel Barton have drafted a proposed interlocal cooperation agreement between Goodrich and the Polk County Precinct 1 Constable's Office for the provision of SRO. On Thursday, March 5th, we met here with myself and Commissioner Robertson, and they presented a Liberty County Tarkington ISD agreement. We sent all of the documentation that we received on that day to Eric McGee. Under the proposed agreement that they presented, Goodrich ISD would provide $50,000 annually to fund a part-time deputy for 1,520 hours per year, serving as an SRO across Goodrich ISD campuses. Constable Hughes has noted that he previously funded this role through asset forfeiture funds. However, those funds have been depleted and the officer is no longer being compensated for the assignment. On March 6th, the draft agreement, the county's most recently approved MOU between the constable and Marcelo Rosario and Liberty Tarkington agreement were forwarded to Eric McGee for local review, and he raised several initial concerns. And then we received this information this morning, so all of y'all have received that as well from Eric. And this is what his concerns were. His original concerns were the payment structure and employment status, because it proposes that the funds be paid directly to the constable, who would then be responsible for salary, taxes, and benefits. However, it would have to be a county employee, not a contracted officer, which is exactly what the Tarkington agreement says. The liability and administrative burden, the service continuity obligation, and equity. So, and we also noted in that at one time the sheriff's office had an agreement with Big Sandy ISD for an SRO as well. Part of the sheriff's concerns were that he was having to pull deputies from other obligations, and so staffing capacity also becomes an issue. So here's the issues as Eric McGee presents them, and certainly we would like Constable Hughes to get an opportunity to address the court. So these are his concerns right now. The proposed draft agreement appears to be a combination of Chapter 791 of the Government Code, Interlocal Agreements, and Chapter 37 of the Education Code. Texas Educational Code 37.081 allows for the school district to enter into a memorandum of understanding with a local law enforcement agency or a county or municipality. Local law enforcement agency is not defined by the Education Code. Chapter 791 agreements can only be executed between governmental bodies, and the constable's office is not a separate governmental body. Concerns with liability issues related to incidents at school and county exposure. What about insurance coverage for liability issues? And Eric's question to us was, have we contacted insurance company? Financial concerns, the county is responsible for payroll taxes, bond costs, retirement contributions, overtime, social security taxes, assignment of hours and work responsibility, control of overtime, and county needs the ability to terminate the agreement. The biggest concern that he had was that it needed to be a county employee. So I'm not opposed to SROs at all. I also went ahead and researched, reached out to the other school districts to determine how they were handling the state requirement. Livingston ISD and Onalaska ISD have agreements with their respective police departments. And so the SROs are employees of the police department. And then the police chief assigns them to go. Leggett ISD has their own school resource officer. which they were able to hire through a grant program, and that's a state grant program. Horgan ISD utilizes the school marshal program, and Goodrich ISD and Big Sandy ISD both utilize a school guardian program. And of course, Goodrich ISD has benefited from Constable Hughes as well, his seizure monies. The primary difference between the marshal program and the school guardian program is in training intensity and state oversight. So that's basically the difference between them. What it boils down to, and of course that would be up to the sheriff, and certainly if the court would like to add a position for the sheriff, then that would make that person, that individual, a county employee. Go ahead, Constable, you want to speak?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Good to see y'all here this morning. I stand here today not only representing my office, I stand here representing the community I was born and raised in over 50 years, an unincorporated area of Polk County, Goodrich, Texas. What we seem to be, I mean, I just really don't know where to start. I guess I'm going to unpack what the judge had to say here, and I respect her opinion, but we've been working on this for literally years, one way or the other, trying to figure this stuff out. After the horrific attacks in Uvalde and the other mass casualty events, the state of Texas, every school that I go to, and the sheriff goes to, and every one of these law enforcement officers, they drill in our heads the school safety, do something to protect these kids. So I was very blessed and fortunate to have a task force that I was able to fund this. Sheriff and I, Lyons, before that, Sheriff Hammock, but Sheriff Lyons was handling it. We'd seized considerable amounts of assets from foreign governments and terrorists, and we brought it back to Polk County. Perfectly legal. One of my original goals, and it's been stated through Facebook posts and everything, was to provide security for these unincorporated schools. Not only Goodrich, but cost share with these other incorporated schools. It was literally like pulling teeth, getting it past that stage. So, not blaming anybody, but we're at a point now where I provided a service, my office have provided a service to the Polk County taxpayers at zero cost to taxpayers for over 3.5 years. Since Uvalde, we've had an officer in Goodrich School, Marcelo. This is Marcelo Rosario. He's a decorated retired state trooper. He's bilingual. He's a former school board member for 10 years in Navasota. He understands the school process. He works well. And if y'all would look at my social media page, I had to respond because people have been wondering where this guy's at. He's bonded with the community. He provides quality care for them and law enforcement. And so anyways, please sit down. He's been to the training over and beyond. My office, my funds have paid for his training. And so here we are today. We have been he's been out with compensation since February. He continued to work because there was an understanding of me, and I guess I misunderstood the agreement that we have an attorney with Polk County, and I hate to bring this in, but a guy named Matt Matthews, and he reviewed some of the legal concerns, and it was understood that we could tweak a few things on this Tarkington agreement, and it would be okay. These agreements, interlocal agreements, are something that is used every day in every county in the state of Texas, and that's the only way we can legally do it. To pay these guys, it's settled law. I mean, it's the state specifically structured the interlocal agreement so county and school districts, county and parks, or whoever could work together for the greater good of the community and bring them assets together. We have a tremendous opportunity here. We've been down there, we bonded with the school, and the agreement me and Barton worked out, there's absolutely no cost to any Polk County taxpayer. The way this guy's looked at, when he's wearing a uniform, when he's on duty, he's considered an employee in my office. I'm licensed, insured, and bonded. We already covered that. Every police officer in the state, every administrator in the state of Texas, law enforcement administrator understands this. That's the only legal way we can function. My question is one: what happened to Matt Matthews' opinion on why this couldn't move forward? It's pretty. According to my outside legal counsel, Greg McGee, it was pretty straightforward. There's nothing illegal about what we're doing. There's no encumbrance on the county taxpayer, no liability for future liabilities to county taxpayers. This guy, whoever it is, and whether it's at Big Sandy or Goodrich or whatever unincorporated school, if they so desire to have security, if they can work out an agreement like Goodrich has in my office, there's absolutely no liability to the taxpayers of the county. He gets hired, the funding stream dries up, he's gone. It's understood, no different than a contract with a grant or my asset forfeiture money. Money's money. And if it's gone, the job, the position is liquidated, terminated. So we have, that's a huge question I have. Why are we going to maybe, not necessarily opinion shopping, but what happened with Mike Matthews? I understand he's our attorney and that's who we use.
Okay, so Mike Matthews is one of the attorneys that
Yes.
we use? I can answer that. So Mike Matthews is one of the attorneys that we use, but when we sent Mike Matthews, his response was that it was well written, but that he didn't have enough information, right? And so when we met on March 5th was the first time that my office, that's the first time that my office had received the Tarkington, which was what the superintendent kept referencing. And so we sent everything to Eric McGee, of the Texas Association of Counties, who is usually the one that advises us on these types of things. And this email, which I will certainly make you a copy of.
I have it. Oh, you talking about that? Yes, I don't have it.
I'm talking about this email that we received this morning.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, lays it out, and we're not opposed to SROs. I'm not opposed to an SRO at all. But the issue is that they have to be a county employee, and your chief law enforcement officer for the county is your sheriff.
Yeah, he's here.
Yes, sir, I
Byron,
know.
are you familiar with it? Any of you have, the only person to be basically the SRO boss is the sheriff of the county. Have you heard that before?
That's,
Is that new to you or me? It's new to me.
For it to be an MOU with the county, then it has to be the sheriff's office.
which I guess he's saying it's through the county, because there are other SROs that are not really like the city, but I'm certainly hoping we can work something out. I have issues trying to find deputies, just resident patrol. I'm hoping we're able to work something out where we may at least get an officer back down there to the school.
Okay,
What do you think
so-
what we provided has been a good service?
I have had no complaints.
And nobody's arguing that.
But we're arguing points that really is moot because statute's already, it's practiced every day in courts across, in Livingston PD, you brought up Livingston PD, they have an interlocal agreement.
And
That means that their officers work at the school, and I hadn't specifically talked to this chief that's running it now, but historically, that included their reserve officers. If they interlocal agreement, well, it's true. I mean,
Yeah, if it's an interlocal agreement, and we are more than welcome to do that. And we would welcome it, but it has to go through the sheriff's office.
okay,
That is all.
I just have to disagree with you, because that's not how the state of Texas sets these interlocal agreements up. And I will provide, I mean, I didn't want to go, it's really, we're arguing over semantics here. I mean, what can we do to protect these children? Why couldn't some of these other unincorporated school districts protect their children? We've been doing it. I have to answer to the people that voted for me, and I have to answer to the people that has come to rely on knowing that we're doing all we can to protect our children. That's what the bottom line is. Not one time in any process have I had. Let's see how we make this work. What is the legal way? There's been one. It was. We're talking about if this guy's not considered employed when he's working, when he's not working under my color, my authority, then what is he considered? A 3/5 police officer? I don't know. I mean, I'm asking.
Okay, and Rosario's done a great job, and we're not arguing that. We're just saying that we have to stay within the limitations of the state of Texas. That's all I'm saying.
And we're on. Okay.
So if we add money to the sheriff's budget, right?
I see.
And then Goodrich ISD can make their contribution, then certainly we.
Yeah, exactly, that's, exactly, but we're not adding money to anybody. So you're telling me you're willing to increase the tax burden liability of the Polk County taxpayers? When we're sitting here offering a plan that I've heard since I've been in government. Matter of fact, I practice what I preach. I'm still driving the same Tahoe that I inherited from Charlie Clack. I've been in office now for 13 and a half years. I've claimed one vehicle. So when it comes to looking out for the taxpayers of Precinct 1, I practice what I preach. So if we're talking about, I don't want to argue, Judge, because I think we're all want to do what's right. But to patently agree with any of this, when, you know, on face value, it's not, I mean, it's going to be really, either I'm completely wrong and going to be embarrassed, or it's going to be embarrassment for all the county.
No, nobody needs to be embarrassed.
Oh, it's there.
The district has said they would pay, you know, they're willing to
Exactly,
pay.
and that's what I'm
The district is
saying.
willing to
And
pay.
so that's not an issue.
And as far as equipment goes, I have vehicles that I bought with asset fortune money. The county will not be out one dime. So we're hung up with here's basically how I see it, and I'll shut up. We have a highly decorated state trooper retired, he's a constable. We have two of them, matter of fact. We got Cunningham, who's got probably 35 years of service. I've got over 25. We don't have a snaggletooth, whatever guy out there. They're highly trained, bring great services to the people that we represent who vote for us. I think what the issue is, if we don't want to consider the constable's office an asset to the county, maybe maybe look at it go at it that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, I don't appreciate the perception that we don't have the authority to do what we're trying to do. Because it really is just an opinion. That's not based in legal fact. And I will have, I don't want to sound, matter of fact, let me just leave it at this. I've kept all this in-house, and you know this, trying to negotiate this for years. And because I think you ought to when you're making sausage, you do it because everybody's having the right interest. And I do not intend to my issue with this to be used other than I'm fighting for our kids. And that's how I'm going to leave it. But I have absolutely 100% faith in my association, in the state of Texas, the government, whatever it takes to make sure that this is explained in Dick and Jane, where we all know that we're on the right page and will answer every question that you proposed this morning. Talking about the Mike Matthews deal, additional human resource burden. At one time, I had 6 employees getting payroll out of the Polk County Auditor's Office. From what I understand, it wasn't any excessive burden. It's the same thing if we continue doing it. But I said that if we had setting a precedent of paying reserve or contract deputies, we broke that precedent 8 years ago. And I'm just bringing this up. I don't think it adds any extra burden to the treasurer or the appraiser's office. And I mean, there's no other obligation my office has or the county has other than to provide, if possible, it can work out, it's revenue neutral would be the best, or if it's not, whatever, is to do all we can to mitigate any incident that may happen. I can't predict the future, and just so we have the resources to do it, I can't predict the future. We're going to do all we can to protect them. But I will say this: this will be a heel for me because this is my community. I know them people's grandkids, and I know I know what we've provided and the deterrence that we've provided by just having officers there, and if nothing else, in the speed zone and in the school. I mean, and that is huge to me. That's where my heart is. It don't have nothing to do about building a big department or this and that. But I will not stop until these unincorporated schools, particularly Goodrich ISD, is afforded the same care and respect and security that the state of Texas already affords us, whether one has an opinion one way or not. And that's all I have to say. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Does anyone have any questions?
The only thing I got to say is I haven't checked on the legal issues of it at all.
And that's my fault.
And I would like more time to at least check some legal issues on that as far as, but I don't understand the difference between, because we were providing asset forfeitures for them.
Okay, asset
But
forfeiture.
so it's just basically changing the source of income in reality,
Correct.
right?
And so the asset forfeiture monies, when he was participating in that, The asset forfeiture monies had to go directly to the county. And so they went directly to the treasurer, and then his staff was paid based on our salary schedule. I mean, we worked that out with the understanding that when the seizure forfeiture monies left, well, then they left. This
Would that be
is
the same as the
No.
school, if the contract just ends? then
The
it-
money's still gotta go to the county.
No, sir, it still has to come into the county. And so that's why on March 6th, we reached out to Eric McGee for complete clarification of the education code versus employment or so forth.
Shelley, you here?
This is completely doable. It is completely doable.
Yeah, come here.
But that individual has to be an employee of the county because the.
I know there's other agencies, even constable's office that hire at school.
Yes, and large, okay, but that's it. Tarkington ISD, the agreement was with Liberty County, and the payment came from Liberty County. That person was assigned as an SRO, okay, but they were paid as a Liberty County employee. I don't have a problem at all with SROs. I think it would be a great idea, but it would be something that the sheriff needs to figure out, how they would be his employees and how he would coordinate with people.
Let me ask.
I just think there are different legal ways.
Money's
Let
money.
me ask the question.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
I mean, y'all worrying who's gonna pay.
But the
Why
county, the
why
school
don't the
district.
school just pay?
The school district.
Because
That's
it's,
the contract.
in Commissioner Purvis.
I mean,
you know,
that
it's-
just
we-
simplifies the whole darn
this
thing.
has to be addressed legislatively, and we're already working on that, because it's in violation of the Private Security Act, an act that was back in the 70s, 73, I think. And what it does, it restricts what reserve officers can contract. Now, they can get on a motorcycle or work traffic all day long, and it's perfectly legal. The minute they perform a security duty without working under an interlocal agreement, they commit a felony. And that would be the same as me. They can't go out and secure security contracts. And that's even where rides a rub. This has been settled law for years. So I'm saying, to answer your question, legally, the Private Security Act restricts that. And who oversees that is the Department of DPS. And it would be the most, because what we're doing, this is absolutely, I mean, that's it. To answer your question, that would be the easiest fix.
Let me ask a question.
And we can't legally do it.
So what would be wrong with the school donating, like whatever school to the sheriff and then turn around?
That's exactly what we were proposing.
That's what we're trying to
That's
do.
what
And do
we're
what now?
doing.
Donate whatever to the sheriff.
Hold on,
Well,
we
the
have
sheriff
to-
department
you're gonna have
ain't
to come
turned
to the
around and
front.
paid you.
Yeah.
Hey, my guy, I don't know if you want, I mean, let's get another, you know.
I just want to say one thing.
Yes.
There's no difference in him having a paid deputy at the school as Byron having a paid deputy. I think that's where people's not
I
understanding.
mean, we have the same authority.
Absolutely.
Unless
You can
you're-
have a deputy at the school,
Yes.
the same as Byron. can.
Right, but we have not a policy in Polk County, but what I understand, a preference that constables cannot employ paid deputies. I'd like to see a policy that's there.
In large counties,
Yeah, any
very
county,
large
any county.
counties, they do have constables that have paid
Absolutely.
deputies. And if that needs to be a policy change, then that's something that.
So is it a
needs to
policy? I'm
be-
asking, is that, I couldn't find it anywhere, nobody knew. I thought, I was under the perception it was a preference. Is there a policy, and our policy manual says that the courts voted, some court at one time or another said the constables cannot have a paid deputy. If that's the case, I violated that policy 8 years ago.
I know, sir, because you did it with seizure money.
Money's money, I've already, okay, you'll be getting that from the Attorney General's office anyway, too, on an opinion.
I do
So, I
not
mean, it's
disagree.
fine, I mean, but money's
I do
money.
not disagree that we need, that having an SRO, okay, especially in the areas that are not within city limits.
Unincorporated.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all, but we have to follow the guidelines that are established by the state of Texas.
Okay.
At one point in time, there was some discussion, and I don't know how that would happen. I'm not T. Cole, I'm not a law enforcement officer, of why it would not be just a W-2 contracted situation. And I know that you explained some of
Yeah.
that, and so, I mean, this is just a discussion item. but
And that's why I was really
all the
surprised.
legalities from the experts, not
Okay,
from
we're
me
talking about
and not-
one expert,
not from this
Mr.,
group.
is it, we're talking about the who, Shelley, or who, you talking about Mr. McGee?
Eric McGee with the
Okay.
Texas Association
Oh,
of Counties.
okay, not, okay.
Well, okay, I mean, that's, I can't argue with it, that's his opinion, but on face, he's, it's more like the email I received about one attorney's opinion that I could pay this guy, he could do a correct, direct contract and everything was fine, and if I'd have went with that, he'd have been a felony, he'd be committing a felony, so they tend to make, but all I'm saying is, to everybody, obviously, there's an issue. We've been dealing with this, I know, these interlocal agreement issues as far back as either 2018 or 2019, rising out of the North End, Oregon Independent School District. This is nothing new. And obviously, he's had officers in Big Sandy try to do something in Leggett, so we got to figure this out. Because whether if we're not going to do it, then just say, hey, we're not going to do it, and then let the chips fall where they may. But this is, let's not act like this is just something just come up on March the 3rd or whatever it was. This is not.
Well, on March 5th was the first time that we received all the information.
Okay,
I
but let's not act like this is the first time any of us have discussed
I'm not saying
this.
it has been.
Okay.
I'm not saying it has been.
Oh, okay.
What I am
I'm sorry.
saying-
I'm sorry.
What I am saying is I'm not opposed. I mean, I'm.
Well, I'm really opposed
assuming
to the place that I was born and raised in, who has been unbelievably well to my family and me and my children. Or since we didn't shirk a duty, we've kept going down there at great expense to my guys to do this. And I find it very, very disappointing. And not trying to bait on somebody's sympathy, but there's nothing we're doing that because out of trying to keep what we've been doing going just like it has.
And we need to keep doing it.
Well,
And we need to,
okay,
and we need to
okay.
be able to move forward. But we have to.
So what do your court
move
need? Please let me know what I can bring back tomorrow or the next day from whoever, whatever office y'all want it from, regarding SROs and their legal authority.
The way I look at it, we got a school that's trying to pay for this. I'm no problem with that at all.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I don't want to vote for something that's
Well, it's a
illegal.
discussion.
So-
Right.
It's a
And
discussion.
Yeah,
It's not a
it's
decision.
I understand
Yeah.
that.
And I 100% agree with this. I agree with it, but it's really disappointing that it's just continuation. I've got, like I think I've discussed with some of y'all, it's a continuation of muddying the waters and muddying the waters and muddying the waters. And how far are we gonna kick the can down the road? I mean, I'm tired. I'm not kicking it no more. So, I mean, to answer your question, I mean, that's it.
Well, we're sitting there looking at it and stood of mud in the water. We need somebody to clear the darn things up.
Thank you, and I'm all for
And
it.
that's what I do.
That's what I was saying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't want
Thank
to
you.
drop this case. I want to keep working on it, get it legalized, vote it, get it paid, get it going.
Well, can I request that it be tabled until we bring you the information?
Well, it's not up for voting. We will put it on the next agenda. We will make sure
To
that.
vote, thank you, to put it on the next agenda to vote on, one way or the other, the facts, let the
Yes.
facts fall where they may.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I'm
until
good.
Thank you.
Eric sent the last
Yeah, that was this morning.
This morning, I thought everything was,
Convenient,
we were all set to go, because if everyone here is concerned about children, and concerned not only about Goodrich children, but all of the county children.
Absolutely.
And this is a good thing, and it's a very good thing that the Goodrich ISD has said that they would pay it, pay for it.
I mean,
That's
yes, I
quite,
mean, yeah.
So I think as long as everyone keeps their cool.
Yeah.
And keeps working on it, it will happen. And because we appreciate every law enforcement that's down there and every law enforcement in the county. So.
And of all people, you've
That's
been in
right.
that district. And unfortunately, we're not living when we were young. And they had to drag me kicking, screaming law in schools. I thought that I had the butts wore out for paddles and discipline that way. So this is not something I take lightly. And I feel like we don't, as long as we can do whatever we can, we need to do it, as long as it's legal and as long as it's beneficial to everybody, the taxpayers, but mostly important our children and the stakeholders down there.
And as you can hear here, there's not anybody up here that takes it lightly, so.
Well,
I bet,
I understand that because honestly, I only have to look in the mirror because I have not brought this to the full court. And we just need, sometimes reasonable minds disagree and we need to have some mediation. And I take blame, I'm sitting here right now and I take blame for that because everything I've ever worked on from getting our asset forfeiture to doing different projects, it's always been a team effort. And I'm not a team effort, but when you try to do that and just get it done. And so I take that responsibility. But not going forward, I don't, because now everybody's aware of it.
I don't think there's any blame or responsibility. I think we all have the same goal in mind. We all want our children protected. And when I say that, I'm including also Big Sandy ISD, that if Big Sandy ISD needs more, I spoke to Leggett. Jana said that they are covered. you know, spoke to Corrigan, they are covered, Livingston ISD is covered, but we have 2 schools that are not in the incorporated areas, and they need assistance. And so, I don't have a problem with
Thank you for
SROs
acknowledging
at
that.
all, but we have to make sure that we are within the parameters of what we can do, and if the school makes a contribution, then that makes their partnership. And we
Can I have a
have
question?
lots of
Can I ask
MOUs.
a question?
No, myself. I mean, I don't know if y'all want, I mean, I don't.
That's
I mean, I'm okay, go ahead. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Come on.
Because it sounds like y'all are just hung up on the full-time thing.
No.
Can he request a full-time position and then the pay is gonna come from the school? Can that happen?
We don't know.
No, I think
That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what he's gotta find.
The legal
We don't know
issues.
yet. I mean, that's.
Well, I mean, because the judge continues to say, hey,
No.
if I was full-time, things are good.
No, Rosario. Rosario. The school has agreed to contribute some money. It does not pay for a full position. The issue is that you must be an employee of the county.
That's right. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. Can he request an employee, a full-time employee?
That is up to the court if they wish to change the parameters of what their policy has been up to this point.
That's what I'm asking.
That is up to the court.
Yeah, I mean, she's basically, and that's what goes back to
But
what.
otherwise, you can be an employee of the sheriff, and then he assigns you to Goodrich ISD,
Okay.
and then the rest of the time, you're doing whatever the sheriff tells you to do.
Doing what the
Either
sheriff
way,
does.
we can get you there.
Well, that's what I'm just asking.
Let me just stop now for the sake of every constitutional and constable office in the state of Texas. We're an independent agency. We have absolutely authority of what we're doing in the county and also for statewide. We answer to the voters, and 2, we answer to our actions and the Constitution. So, I mean, I respect my man right here. I mean, there's no more respect than I have for behind lines. But when it comes to running my office, I make the decisions. I suffer the consequences for any decisions.
And I'm not disagreeing with that.
So it's not, yeah, but I just want to make it clear, that's not the first time that's been said.
As it stands right now, that would be one of the issues.
And I haven't asked
Until
that,
we
I don't want to go
get-
there. I want you to know this, I'm not going there.
Okay.
All I'm going there is for just make sure, once we get this out, that this guy's getting compensated and we have somebody down there doing what we're doing. I'm not, now, someone.
That's what we all want.
Absolutely.
We're just trying to figure out how to get there.
I understand, and I appreciate you, But Kevin, you had something you want to say?
Hi, Judge.
He represents.
Yeah.
Sitting on the back row watching, I understand Scott's passion, I understand y'all's desire as well. Looking at the questions, because it is going to affect me as well, because Sean Smith, who is currently over the Corrigan ISD security, is fixing to retire as a game warden, and my plans are to pick him up and cover his commission. Corrigan will pay for his job there at the school. And I'm trying to learn this as well. What will we do? Will we go under a contract situation? And I haven't, and my fault of my own, I have not looked at this intently. It appears that the situation is, will we be able to have a full-time officer? We'd have to change policies under the constable offices. Now, does it create additional problems? Yes, because if we brought a full-time officer in under the constable's office at the same pay as a deputy sheriff, well, now that deputy constable makes more money than the constable does.
Yep.
So that creates.
And we just now got y'all from 25 to 45.
Right.
So it's not like you're being paid a lot of money.
Yes, ma'am. And, if it's a policy change, I know myself, Constable Evans, Constable Hughes, and Bill probably as well, but Alaska's covered. So speaking with us, we would not mind taking the responsibility of a full-time officer to ensure the security and safety of our children.
Absolutely.
If we can figure out, like I said, this is a discussion, we can figure out what it's going to take for the county to change policy and provide those full-time officers under the constable's offices. Therefore, the sheriff doesn't have the responsibility nor the situation where he's short-staffed and needs to pull a deputy from the school to cover calls
Yes, sir.
because that emergency. We do have, whether it's a part-time situation, full-time officers, you know, when you're looking at reserve officers, it is some semantics on TCOL and state legislation on what is required and what is allowed for them to do. Sean Smith has looked into it and said that it does appear basically as a contract is the best thing to do. And as, to me, it seems like what it would be for Goodrich to enter that contract. I just don't know if, y'all know on the county side, whether it has to be through the sheriff or can we do those contracts through the offices?
If it's a contract employee, the way I understood it,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, the way I understood it was that if it was a contract employee and the school is paying them, then the school would just issue a W-2, just like they would with any other contractor, and the rub there would be that somebody has to carry that commission,
Which would be us.
which would be you.
Yes, ma'am.
But he has to be a full-time employee, or you
I
violate the
think
Social
it's
Security
changed.
Act.
I think it's changed.
Well, it has on private security, it has on private security companies. They can hire a reserve deputy.
I think under, was
Okay.
it Sean
Okay.
said? Yeah,
What
it
do
was-
we do?
Yeah, so let's look at all the
Yes, ma'am.
possibilities, because the other thing that you also need to keep in mind is that he's talking about a school that is in an incorporated area but doesn't have a police force,
Yes.
right? You're talking about a school district inside an incorporated area
Yes, ma'am.
with a police department
Agency, yes,
as
ma'am.
well, right? So in that case, the MOUs would be more extensive. It would have to be an MOU with the Corrigan PD authorizing, you see what I'm saying? So
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
more moving pieces
Right.
from what I understand, right? And so it's not that anybody's opposed to any kind of law enforcement support. We all know that.
Right.
But it's figuring out, given the differences between the school districts and their locations and availability, it was my understanding that, yes, the school could hire someone, then the school would issue the W-2, but somebody has to carry the commission.
Correct.
But we will get all the
And I
details.
think that's what Sean was telling me as well.
Yes.
And so, and he has looked at it extensively also with Corrigan. You know, we were talking about Livingston ISD, you know, that looks like they're going to their ISD PD.
Yes.
So that's in the works. So the city of Livingston will be out of that ballgame.
Yes, because it will become the school district's police department,
ma'am.
which is the same way that Leggett ISD is operating.
Correct.
Leggett ISD applied for all the grants, got them, and so when I visited with her, she said that the officer is their employee, the equipment is theirs, the vehicle is theirs, everything is theirs. And so if that officer should leave, then they aren't gonna be left with nothing,
Correct.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if we could research all of those things further, other than an email received this morning, then that would certainly be helpful.
Then we'd also have to look at
And
the
make-
pay scale and.
We have to look at
Where to put it.
everything.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and this court, certainly not since I've been here, has never considered just one area without considering the whole.
Correct.
And so whatever changes get made, whatever the court decides to do, is going to we need to make sure that all 4 constables are able or capable or functioning, right, in such a way that that's a possibility. But that was my understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
The school
And I feel that
could-
everybody's on the same page. We all want it, we gotta figure out how to do it. We're a small county growing into a larger county.
Yes, sir.
And those needs are gonna have to be met, and it's just to figure out the correct way to do it. The sheriff has enough responsibility, doing the duties that he has. And when the constable's offices can step in, and it's time for us to start building, whether it be solely for an SRO position, or whether it be for a full-time position, you know,
Or
for
whatever the
traffic,
need is.
for the constable duties, because I'll give precinct 4 example. They're swamped with papers and court and so forth. Some of the other.
Hey, listen, here, my office is swamped, and yours is too.
But we need to be looking at that, the whole picture as far as
Absolutely. We
those
need to look at
deputies.
the whole thing.
And I think we're all on agreement.
Absolutely.
Coming up with that, just.
And we need to help, I guess, Goodrich and Big Sandy
Well,
But Janet didn't get those grants that she got.
Yes, what they
Right.
need to do.
I
is
didn't know
look
she
at
got
those
grants. I thought it just came from the ISD.
I'm sitting here learning all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Sheriff, you got something?
Yes, sir.
If I could, I've heard the sheriff's name, several times. And so I would like to
But
have
not in
something.
vain.
Yeah, not in vain, not yet. So
That'd be nice.
I'd like to be able to just interject just a few things as the constables are bringing out. Yes, we know that the sheriff, these things can be brought into my office and we can bring their personnel, but these are the things as you go forward in making this final decision, is that we do need to start, like Constable Berman said, we start looking to the future, because there are those things, because I have a hard time now, I think I have 6, 7 openings just in patrol, just on the patrol side. And then even if, to me, I would hate to say the only way this could happen is that I take his employee under my wing and then start this. But as we go forward, there are a lot of things that could certainly help the sheriff's office out if we were able to start the constables as their own, as a full-fledged, department with full-time people. That's animal control, that's environmental services. There are all kind of other things that we could bring into play with this if we were to look at giving these guys full-time officers, whatever that pay scale structure looks like, but including as well as covering the schools, to be able to help with those things that we automatically know the constable's going to cover the schools, environmental, even if animal control comes into that. But I think that Polk County has evolved, just like everything else around us, into a bigger county. And I think our thinking is going to have to get outside of what we've normally done. You're the policymakers, and our policy may have to change, be tweaked, or whatever it takes, but I think we're at that point now where we've evolved to where now we're going to have to step up to that next level. And it's not always the sheriff who's going to be able to help. Even if it's my position, it's not always me or my office going to be able to help, because there are restraints and shortages that I'm falling up on. I don't want to say it in public that, yeah, there are some shortfalls that I have. And staffing is one of the main ones that we suffer from. So I welcome being able to have these guys.
With the staffing issue,
Sure.
foreseeing, we're gonna have the same issue with the SRO as the sheriff has with his deputies going to the pay. If we have an established ISD PD with Livingston, and if they run their minimum salary at 65,000, their start out salary at 65,000, and we're running at 52, 49, whatever the current is for a deputy, we will continuously lose our SROs to the ISD because a $10,000 pay raise, they get the training with us, and then there they go.
And that is correct.
So,
And that's not even
that's just
counting
another-
the fact that you all are not going to be at that standard either.
Unless you decided to give us a raise too, so.
Well, and you know what? Turn around and face all those people and tell them to
I'll ask.
taxpayers.
Right, yes, ma'am.
Well, a lot
Sounds
of this
saying
takes- a lot of this is
because-
gonna take a lot of research on us as well.
Right.
We've all pretty much, us here in law enforcement, standing in this building, we've been in this business over 20-something plus years. And stuff, we know a lot of agencies out there. And I know not all of them work up under the sheriff or the chief, you know what I mean? So there's ways to do it, but like I can honestly tell you, I haven't checked into any of the legal issues ways of it, you know what I mean?
So, it looks like, other than prior to getting approval for a full-time, going the contract route,
Yeah, it was my understanding. Now, I
proposing a
haven't-
contract between the ISD and
correct.
the agency,
But
but that
somebody
agency
has to-
has to be the
But somebody has to
SO?
carry the T-bill.
Or can that agency be the contract with the constable?
I don't know enough about it.
the big
Kevin.
legal argument.
I would be hesitant to
That'd be some of the
respond.
legal-
Yes.
But I think that's part of maybe that's the homework assignment for all of you all.
Yes, ma'am.
Is to take a hard look at what exactly did Leggett ISD do? How did
Well, they
do it?
established their own.
Exactly,
So they created their own law enforcement
Correct.
entity.
correct.
Therefore, and then if the schools did that, they're responsible for
They're responsible
everything.
for everything, and all of that was paid for through grants.
Yes, ma'am.
See, so you provide relief for your school district taxpayers, and all of that was.
Yeah, and we're doing with the grants and the deadlines and when if
Exactly,
they're
and
still
all the
available
reports.
or all that.
Goodness knows there's enough reports.
Yes, ma'am.
So, anyway, so I think maybe part of it is that you four need to get together, and you need to talk to the sheriff as well, and talk to the ISDs and see how exactly they intend to proceed. And then,
When's the coverage on Goodrich end? Are they out of money? There's anything, there's no more funding for it?
He hadn't been constantly, but anyway, welcome aboard.
Because there is a requirement that the school is required to provide the security, so if.
the school agreed to fund up to $50,000, and that's why we're here. Is because when we got all the information, we sent it off to Eric McGee, we gave him everything. We said what the school was willing to fund, everything. And so, but we have to follow Federal Labor Standards Act, we have to do.
50,000 doesn't
No,
cover
sir.
everything.
No,
They-
sir.
No, and hey, listen, I'm going to interject here since this is my agenda item here. Hey, hang on a minute. Hey, you hang on a minute. If that's an agreement we worked out because this guy here, he was making Polk County sergeants pay. And he's the one that decided he would work for them down there because he's retired. He's like you, retired. And I'm welcome aboard, Kevin, on getting this stuff forward because I've been dealing with this stuff since 18. And this was my agenda. I want to ask this man right here one thing. We've run a test run with how constables can help with deputies taking calls, working traffic for almost 8 years. And what's your opinion on how we've done? Just my office. I know all these guys work, but with multiple deputies taking calls and working with your guys.
Working well. We don't have any issues.
Yeah, but all that time, all them calls, everything we've done, just what, I mean.
It's safe, 'cause when you're shorthanded, it helps out a lot, because it calls, instead of having to wait for an hour, we're able to get someone there a lot sooner.
Because we take the calls that weren't necessarily the ones that were just so present. We take a lot of calls. I mean, traffic and everything. That's just what I'm saying. The template's been made. And so I have nothing further. And Kevin, you're welcome aboard, man. And I will definitely have y'all the information.
So if you all get together, Kevin,
Thank you.
Scott,
Thank you. Thank
whoever
each
can
one of you.
organize it, if you all can get together and find out what all the options are and how the county should proceed as a whole.
Sean and I have been working on talking about this, and of course, now I see that it is a different
What is
situation.
Sean's
being-
last name?
Smith.
Okay.
Smith.
Now that you're referencing.
He's retiring, he's retiring in 2 months from the game warden's office. And he's been over the school security as a secondary job in Corrigan for quite some time. He took Ray's spot.
Yeah.
So I had not thought the difference between incorporated and unincorporated areas as far as MOU or contractor are concerned.
And it may not, if they hire him, you see what I'm saying, then you carrying the T code may not be a big deal at all. I do not know. I'm just saying I don't know.
And I also understand the intentions that, of the court to cover and help cover and do what we need to do, but that there is also a financial fiscal responsibility and obligation to, when you're talking about adding 2, 3, 4 different employees to the county budget and the county law enforcement system. Because one officer, let's say Sergeant Rosario is there, well, let's say he gets sick and he's out for a week. What do we do as far as bringing him in and having that position, or bringing another officer in and having that position covered? Whether it's a reserve that works on his free time, or whether it's we have another officer that an agreement with another agency that an officer can come in, or those are different things that have to be considered.
Absolutely, and in all fairness to the sheriff's department, that was part of what happened with Big Sandy. That was right in the middle of COVID, right? And so when that assigned person was out, then it stretched the sheriff's department that was already stretched. Everybody was already stretched during COVID. And so those are the fine points that need to be defined or discussed or agreed on. So if you all will get together, then let us know, and we'll bring it back to the court.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 23, discuss and consider approval of resolution of the Polk County Commissioners Court regarding the establishment of additional data centers. Here you go, Gary. In the state of Texas, the attached resolution outlines the Polk County Commissioners Court position on the increasing development of data centers across the state of Texas. While recognizing the economic and the strategic importance of digital infrastructure, the resolution also addresses potential impacts to local communities, including electric grid demand, water usage, environmental considerations, and strain on county infrastructure. So a copy of the resolution was included for your review, and it covers a lot of the things that Gary discussed. It supports responsible economic development while emphasizing the protection of grid reliability, water resources, and county infrastructure. It calls for increased transparency in reporting electricity demand, water uses, and infrastructure impacts. It recommends independent impact analyses prior to project development. It encourages adoption of sustainable development standards, including the water efficient technologies and responsible land use practices. And it requests legislative action to provide counties with greater authority in land use planning, infrastructure cost, participation, and oversight of large-scale developments. Basically, this was based on some of the concerns that we have been hearing, that Gary has been hearing from our residents and from our businesses. And what we're asking is a resolution so that we can provide this to the legislature and ask them to provide more support for counties to have a say in this type of development.
So moved.
I'll second.
Commissioner Purvis, Commissioner Robertson, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 24, discuss and consider any and all necessary action related to the proposed industrial high-load facility site impact permit policy and fee schedule. The permits office, fire marshal, emergency management, and GLS, Jed Morris with GLS. Along with this office, we looked at different proposals and a policy for permitting industrial high-load facilities such as data centers. Legal counsel is still reviewing it, but the policy is included for your review. We did also provide it ahead of time for everybody. The policy as it stands would require facilities meeting one or more thresholds, 1 megawatt or more of electrical demand, continuous industrial operations, large-scale cooling systems, on-site power generation, or containerized outdoor equipment to obtain a site impact permit before construction or operation. It would apply to data centers, AI computing facilities, crypto mining, cold storage, and similar uses. They would submit engineering sealed documentation covering the layout, the electrical load, noise, cooling systems, fire, road and traffic impacts, stormwater, and floodplain management. The water source and usage must be disclosed. The site-specific conditions to mitigate documented impacts such as noise control, road bonding, drainage measures, and construction hour limits. The conditions cannot prohibit lawful operations or regulate the nature of the business. Applications would be reviewed by the fire marshal, the commissioner, emergency management, the floodplains administrator, and the county engineer. And permits could be appealed to Commissioners Court within 30 days. And existing lawful facilities that are currently in existence would be exempt unless they expand or upgrade to meet the threshold. And it includes fees for engineering review retainer, commercial development fee, fire marshal plan review, inspection fees, and while not required, legal counsel has advised us that a public hearing prior to adoption would be advisable, given the similarities between this policy and the county's subdivision application requirements. So if you all approve of what we have provided you, which legal counsel has taken a look at, then we can certainly put a hearing on the next Commissioner's Court.
I have a question.
Sure.
POS is not regulate zoning land use or water rights. So how does this affect John Henry that wants to come drill a well for his cows?
It doesn't.
None at
It
all.
doesn't. We're talking about a
Large quantity use.
Yes, we're
period.
talking about a commercial water well like he was talking
Not
about.
an
That would be
agricultural
considered
private
commercial?
Oh, yeah. It would be commercial. But the other thing too is ensuring that the electrical provider, right, in the south end of the county, that would be Chico, on the north end, it would be Entergy, has the capability of providing that amount of power on an ongoing, especially if it's going to be a 24/7 facility, then the amount of power that they pull is a lot. And so making sure that it does not impair power, water, noise levels, availability to the current residents or the current taxpayers.
Well, I agree with everything on here as far as, as far as quality of trying to regulate and control it or make money or whatever you gotta do to do it right. I just wanna make sure I'm not voting for something that's gonna dampen just a local man here trying to dig
No.
a water
No,
well for
it's
his house,
not.
anything like that. No.
It's not gonna impact, your agricultural, your farmers, your timber production. It's not gonna impact anybody, that is currently operating at all. This would be new development that is commercial water wells, and that also requires a lot of electricity or energy in some form or fashion. You don't think about it, but we've heard from other areas that noise
Oh, yeah.
is a huge impact.
Done
And
job
so,
before.
yeah, so that's what it would take care of.
Okay, I just.
Okay, now legal has done looked at it, or they're still looking at it?
They
So
have.
legal counsel has finished review of it. They actually said that we could limit it to closed loop systems only, which would prevent large water use and runoff, so that would be great. And he just typed up our liability portion of the policy, and he says it was great.
Yeah, he's looked at most of it and said it's good. And furthermore, remember that we have to stay within the constraints of the state.
Yeah.
So we're asking the state to do more for us. But keep in mind, we sure fought hard just over subdivision regulations the last two legislative sessions, so.
But, and I would be for the closed loop thing, but that would be something we could put in the public hearing to see what the public thought.
Absolutely. So is yours as a motion?
Pardon?
Are you bringing it as a motion?
Yes.
So Commissioner Cassidy,
Second.
Commissioner Purvis, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we will get you all that information also when we hear back from legal, so that everybody gets an opportunity to review it. Okay, item number 25, discuss and consider any and all necessary action for future large item collection events. The March 14th Tyron Large Item Collection Event demonstrated very clearly that the community has a demand for responsible large item disposal because demand exceeded the available capacity. The dumpsters evidently filled quickly and a number of residents had to be turned away. So the court may wish to consider hosting these events on a recurring basis and with a greater capacity. So to move forward, the court needs to authorize staff to proceed with planning and identify the appropriate funding mechanism. So if that's something that the court would like to consider, then we just need to know so that we can take a look at it. Is that something that maybe needs to be done twice a year, quarterly, how often?
Well, it's done right now twice a year, correct? So, I mean, we do that last year twice a year, and at our precinct, we do it twice a year.
Yes, you do it.
But,
And I do it twice a year.
He does it. You see what I'm
But
saying?
countywide.
but I thought at countywide.
Cherie, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah.
So whenever we did this event, we had a lot of people that was very appreciative of the event. I know that we spoke with Commissioner Cassidy about doing one, maybe a fall event. Me and Carrie have spoke. I think that this is an event maybe that if Commissioner Purvis and Cassidy, if we can get with y'all, because I know that y'all two do one, but, and maybe have it in y'all's region somewhere, or have it based at the Commissioners, Conference Center, I'm sorry, for a utilized area. But it is an event that needs to happen because the dumpsters were full within an hour, maybe an hour and a half of the event starting, and we had 6. And we had to turn away 15, 20 people with trailer loads.
And this is just large items?
Yes.
It's not, I can't bring bag trash or anything?
No.
Because
Just
the
large
next
items.
day, I came into the work and we had a complaint come through, I think it was precinct 3 or 4, about where they went and dumped large items due to the fact that most likely that they couldn't drop at our facility at the time of our event.
Okay, so back to the question about, should it be twice a year? Because the cleanup that you all do,
Twice a year.
is it large event, is it large item?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
So-
gonna leave that to the commissioners. If they wanna do that twice a year, my office, I know for the environmental office, we're willing, and there are some funds that we're willing to add to it if they would like to do it twice a year, once a year, other than the grant.
Okay, so when we go through the budget process, we will take a look at what funding is available, and then the commissioners can decide how to utilize those funds that have come in through environmental, right? But it seems like this would be logical. So that is something that everybody needs to think about, because obviously it's well used. But the other thing too is it is very, very well advertised, marketed, and part of that is grant funds as well. So,
Look,
Fine with me.
but I think it costs, what, about 9,000 or what? It was 8,000 in milk, and I chipped in a little bit more for another, or we all did for a little bit.
Sorry. Altogether, for the grant, what the grant covered,
8,000 something.
about $8,000, $9,000.
Yeah.
And that was for the tire trailers also included. So if we maybe limited just one tire trailer and then had more dumpsters, then I think that would be better.
How many dumpsters, John, have?
We had 6
Six.
dumpsters, some big, some small, but if you could have about 2 to 3 times a year, I don't think you need over 2 trailers, for tires.
Okay.
You have regular enough.
so those decisions can be discussed, you see what I'm saying, when you start setting it up. So the question right now is, do you want to do it more often? And if so, what would you like to consider? I mean, the specifics on number of dumpsters can be discussed later.
You're saying instead of twice a year, do it quarterly maybe?
Yes, that's my question. Do you want to look at moving forward with a great big event like that on a quarterly basis?
I would move forward.
Okay, so then we will do the research for that, keeping the quarterly basis in mind, and go from there. Thank you, Sheree, appreciate it. Okay, so move to a quarterly. Come as a motion from Commissioner Cassidy. Second,
So,
Commissioner Purvis. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 26, discuss and consider any and all necessary action related to compensation benchmarking, labor costing, and salary analysis, including but not limited to the potential acquisition of software or professional services to support the development of the fiscal year 2027 budget. So the last time we did, in 2018, we did a full market study, a compensation study. And those things have been tweaked as we went along. And at that time, it cost us approximately $50,000. And so we were originally planning that as part of next year's budget, that we would put some monies in there for a formal compensation study to benchmark us again to other jurisdictions and to market data. Recently, Carrie and some of the staff members took a look at a software platform called TrueComp, which is designated specifically for public sector compensation analysis. a labor costing and salary benchmarking. So this would be an annual cost for 3 years of $20,000, and it offers greater flexibility. The copy of their proposal was included for your review, and we're still looking at other options and additional proposals that could be presented. However, if we went ahead and procured a solution like this that would allow us to develop the tool, then we would be able to implement it for this budget year instead of waiting until the next budget cycle to implement.
Okay, I'm not a computer expert or nothing, but this program, is it gonna compare us to our surrounding counties, or is it gonna compare us to the rest of the world? What is it gonna do?
We select which entities, other counties, or what other agencies we want to compare ourselves to. We can add and drop comparisons at any time. It takes them 4 to 6 weeks, once we give them those comparisons, to gather the data and import it into the software, and then we would be able to just see where we line up with everybody else on, whoever we want to look at, whenever we want to look at it.
But don't we kind of do that already during budget season?
This puts all of the data, we could have 12 surrounding counties, every single position, all in there. And it also allows us to compare our job descriptions to those job descriptions to see how they actually do line up. I would suggest if you have questions about it, look at the demo and see. I think it would bring a lot of value to this next budget cycle to be able to see where our compensation lines up with other entities' compensation across the board, and use that information as we're building the 2027 budget.
And with our last one, what it did was we told them the surrounding area entities, and then also compared it to other counties that had similar, similar dynamics and similar population and et cetera, to us. So that's what we did last time, because it included the city, and of course, that was before the Alabama shot exploded too. And so the comparison was for local, but also 2 counties that were similar to Polk County. And so all of that would be included. I think the advantage with this is that you would have, I don't know, in today's dollar, obviously it would be more than 50,000 that we would be spending for a big salary study like that. But this would give us three years worth of them reviewing and looking at it, reviewing and looking at it, reviewing and looking at it, instead of a one-time, here's your salary survey, best of luck, see you next time. And we could go ahead and move forward with it and actually use it immediately instead of having to wait for the information.
We also don't have to commit to 3 years. You
that
could
was
do
what
up to
we-
3 years. You could do 1 year for 20,000, or up to 3 years at 20,000 a year.
Up to 3 years for what?
At 20,000 a year, but you don't have to do all 3 years. We could just start with 1.
Well, I think it would be extremely beneficial because things are shifting pretty quickly around here. Now, I will say that our growth in sales and real estate has pretty much flatlined now. So there's not a whole lot of new properties selling right now. Now, the other thing too is that, so right now, we have the surplus IH money revenues. Don't get used to that because ICE is renegotiating their phone contract as we speak also, and we will be cut out of that. We will not be getting the phone revenues. But right now, we have the ICE phone revenues, excess revenues that could be utilized for this. And we can do it 1 year, kind of see what we think, but I feel like that having more than 1 year of somebody else looking at it and evaluating it as we go would be beneficial.
But if we did it 1 year, then we could, at the end of that year, you could decide whether we wanted to to roll it and go ahead and do another year or
Nothing, it's
two?
a 3-year contract.
It's a 3-year contract that we have
Okay, that's what
included
you
in. Well, if we did that, then you'd have to come back and renegotiate another contract and renegotiate another contract. So the offer is for 3 years at $20,000 a year. That's the contract. If y'all want us not to do a 3-year, then you just need to let us know. And this way we can use it now. Go ahead, ask Carrie whatever you want to ask her.
But I
Carrie,
mean, so
why
this
don't you
thing
come up
would be,
here?
so I mean, we could get real-time data in the middle of the year. It'd take
Yes,
4 to 6
yes.
weeks. We could get this information anytime we wanted.
Yes.
Yep.
No, it'd take 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if we requested a new comparator, it would probably take them that long because they've got to do a FOIA request,
Yep.
get that information from that
Yep.
other entity, and then build it into the software. So I say 4 to 6 weeks, we would have that information and be able to use it. It doesn't cost us anything to add on additional comparisons. We could get 25 initially, and turn them on and off if we needed to. If somebody says that's an outlier, it doesn't really work for us, just turn that one back off.
Have we looked at other companies besides this one?
I've been looking to try to find other companies. I found one other one that does also work in the public sector primarily, but they have not responded to my request for demo pricing, anything, and I reached out to them Thursday. So
Who does the data directly go to? Could we create a thing that?
it goes into a database that we could all have. There's no limit on the number of users that would have access to that, so we can set it up to where the court would all have access to that information directly. And
Not against this, but I think it'd be nice to see what's out there in the field of other companies that do the same thing.
Sure.
This is not the only.
And we have looked at a company.
We have been
But
looking.
part of the problem is that a lot of those companies are mostly private industry, right? And we need someone that understands government work and government financing and so forth, right, to look at it. And this is the only group that provides a clearly identifiable understanding of government. And some of them are government or private and government. And so, no, we have reached out. We're bringing you what we have and what we've looked at. But if it's something that you all don't want to consider, then we can go a different route.
I think anything we can do to help our employees, get our pay scale, if everybody says we're so out of whack that it's unreal, anything we can do to get us a better picture of what we need to be doing, I think we should try.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I would rather do it
That's the reason
now.
I'm asking, if this is going, we can get real-time numbers pretty much anytime, within a couple,
Yes.
2-month period,
Exactly.
And right now, we can't get them at all.
Right.
And
So-
I agree with you, it's just I just want to make sure that this is the best company that, y'all have found.
Well, so the other company that has not responded, what would be your expectation when we say, hey, we need a redo? We're asking about your product, but you haven't responded to us to even send us a demo for us to look at. So my expectation of working with someone like that and then asking questions in the middle of the year, I'd rather work with someone that's gonna, at least when they're.
How comfortable are you with these people?
I was very impressed when they did a demo of their software, and like I said, they did reach out to us because they had heard that we were considering doing a compensation study. Y'all may or may not remember that process was painful. And
yeah, I've been through
it
several of them.
was time consuming, it cost, a good amount of money, and so when I saw what they were offering, and we could essentially get the same type of data, but even better and more focused, more intense, it just seems like a no-brainer, and it would be really helpful to have during the budget development process. It takes the pressure off the court because you're looking at solid data to determine what the compensation should be next year.
And keep in mind that they're not just, they're gonna look at our benefits, they're gonna look at longevity, they're gonna look at everything. They're not just gonna say, oh, okay, well, we're gonna compare, you know, over here to over here without taking into consideration retirement, without taking into consideration the benefits. So everything is going to be comparable, not just the bottom line.
And HR would also work with you on this.
Oh, yes.
Have you looked at this, James? You good with it?
Yes, sir.
Nope.
Yes, sir.
I made a motion.
They called and talked to me, and I passed it to her, and then here she's telling you about it, yes.
Can I make a motion?
I'll second.
Purvis, Cassidy, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Motion
opposed?
to adjourn.
Second.
Carries. Purvis, Cassidy, what time is it, Madam Clerk? 12:04.
3 o'clock.
I thought it was dark.
It feels that way.
What you got? Sending you a lot of paperwork.